Good evening and welcome to the Planning Board meeting, Douglas Planning Board of Wednesday, January 10th, 2024. This meeting is being broadcasted and by local access programming as well as on Zoom, as printed on the agenda. Is anyone in the audience recording tonight's meeting? Okay, so first item on the agenda, my name is Matthew Benoit. I'm the Director of Community Development, calling for reorganization. We're looking for a nomination for Mr. Schultzberg as chair.
So moved.
Second on that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion
Would
carries.
you accept it?
Yeah,
That's the biggest question.
I'll accept that.
Thank you.
And I'll nominate,
We're looking for,
nominate Meg for vice chair.
okay.
I'd second that as well.
Nomination's been made and second.
Meg, will you accept?
Any discussion?
Thank you.
Who did you nominate?
Meg
Schlesman.
for vice chair.
That
You've
Mike?
been elevated, so.
Meg.
Oh,
Meg.
Meg.
Me.
Meg. That makes sense.
Meg, Mike.
All right, motion been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. All right, Jake, take it away.
All right. First, I just want to actually just go around the table. We have a new face, just so the recording secretary can put a name to the face. And I actually wouldn't mind starting the meeting now with just an attendance going around, just. 'Cause I usually have to say it anyways, who's here and who's not here, so if we can just actually just go around to say
Yeah.
who you are and that you're present. Jacob Schultzberg, present.
Meg Schlesman, present.
Aaron Sokrat, present.
Mike DeRose, present. Mike Greco, present.
Mike Swicker, present.
Very good.
All right, A&Rs, 138 Martin Road, Thomas Hunt. Bless. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. We have those for signatures.
All right, what are we looking at? Either Les or Mr. Benoit? One. Just for the record, Richard Preston is present now. Sorry, Les.
Sorry. So Les Stevens, 31 Brookside Drive, Douglas. It's, so we've got a parcel of land with existing house. Lot 1 would be a 200-foot frontage, 2-acre, meeting the zoning requirements. Lot 2 would be 200 feet and a little over an acre of land. And then lot non-buildable, and then lot 3 would be 80 feet of frontage, non-buildable lot as well. So it meets all the requirements for standard A&R. We met with Mr. Benoit and did some reviews, did some updates, and included all the changes that he requested.
I concur. The changes that would need to be made was Market Road was to be labeled as a public way. The lots 2 and 3 would be labeled as non-buildable lots. And the planning board endorsement does not necessarily mean that the plan conforms to current zoning requirements. Language added to the top.
Lot 2.
May I ask a question from, so I learn, why do you, and it's not anything justification or not, this is not part of the whole thing. Why do you accept 2 non-buildable lots next to a buildable lot to put a tent? I mean, what does that help for?
It's just for future.
Non-buildable future?
No, there's opportunities to make them buildable in the future, and that's it.
But beyond the scope of what we have in
Yep.
front of us.
Right, no, and I preface that, I just, so.
Yep.
Anyone like to make a motion for this?
Make a motion to endorse the A&R for 138 Martin Road.
Second that.
Okay, made by Mr. Zwicker, seconded by Ms. Schlesman. Everyone's here, no one's online. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, all set.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Everything's over.
Thanks, Les.
Sign it.
We'll sign those and
Yeah, we can lay them
pick them up tomorrow.
Yeah.
Pick them up tomorrow.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Question. Are we both voting tonight? I think that's 7 total. Is that how it works?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Except for Pine.
Any other? So you know,
Oh,
President
yeah.
is part of the organization. Jake's the chair and Meg's the vice chair.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that's a good point, Meg. So, Mike, you'll probably just have to recuse yourself on the, or maybe not recuse, but not vote on the public hearing.
Because we've had that for multiple hearings already.
Yeah.
And need them all enrolled for more than
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Eligible.
Anything else that would,
No,
that you can think of that you wouldn't be able to do?
no.
Perfect. All right.
Not the bond reduction also?
Oh,
Would that also apply? Sleepy Hollow?
Okay.
all right, moving right along, the public hearing continued for Pine Sand and Stone Company Incorporated, application for earth removal permit, ER-230906, site plan review, SPR-230906, and special permit, SP-230906, 93 Cliff Street. Please join us.
Everyone, Andy Leonard from Pine Sand. Been a while. I think we got bogged down in the noise. So everybody should have the tech environmental letter. Well, back up. I think, Jeff, you were aware that the only change to the plan was the conservation required us to move the grading 5 feet from the 100-foot buffer, so that got revised and is in the plan before you. Then we hired Tech Environmental to review the noise concerns, and they found that there is some concerns, and what we think we'll end up doing is, we have two options. I don't know how many people have been up there, but there's a 32,000 square foot building up there. We're probably going to put the crushing operation inside the building and enclose it on the street side, so to speak. Our other option is to build a combined earth berm or wall. So at this point, we think we're going to put it in the building, so we just showed on the plan that the area where we had the crushers would be stockpile areas. And we've resigned ourselves to the fact that we have to meet these sound requirements, and that's what we will do. So it's pretty straightforward stuff. And that's where we're at. I'm not sure what the board prefers. If Jeff has any, address it to the
Yeah.
board, to the chair, but I think we have a clean letter from the peer review, and willing to meet all sound requirements.
Do you have a preference on what you want to do, building or berm?
Right now, it's really subject to change when we
Yeah.
start doing the actual layout. Right now, my preference would be to put it inside the building.
Because we'll need to know to approve the plan,
Oh, to approve the plan?
I would assume, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you could, excuse me, through the chair, come back for minor modification. The other situation with the berm meets the criteria, but for now, you got to sort of take a stand.
But then we would put it inside the building.
Okay.
Through the chair, Andy, would you do a subsequent sound study after the operation commences to ensure that it's
If the board
meeting?
required it.
Okay.
What happens once you have, I'm going to refer to Murray, we have to do those for MIPA, I believe, correct?
Murray Bristol Pine Sand and Stone.
Not MIPA, MSHA.
Just so the mic can pick you up.
Yeah, Murray Bristol Pine Sand and Stone. Yeah, it's more of a DEP issue problem, something that we have to conform to. So we will be, going along those guidelines.
To answer your question, yes. And we have to do it at Pine now.
So through the chair, so periodically you'd be required to do it through the DEP anyway?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all the DEP requirements.
Okay.
Has the sound study been peer reviewed at all? Okay. That's on Mr. Walsh will do, or will that be someone else? Okay. All right, so I'd like to just get any comments and concerns from the, our peer review for the plans.
Good evening, everybody. For the record, my name is Jeff Walsh. I'm with Graves Engineering. I don't mind standing if you don't mind dealing with me. Okay, okay. Thank you for the work in assisting this board in reviewing. We reviewed the site plan and special permit application, not with respect to the earth removal, but with respect to the building and so forth. We reviewed the stormwater. We had a few comments in our first letter that went out back in October 12th. We received revised information from the design engineer and issued a second review letter on November 21st. Our comments were addressed. We really didn't have anything major. This being an earth processing and washing operation, the wash water is considered processed water, and the important thing was not to mix it with the storm water and discharge the processed water as part of the storm water. I've been around a number of these facilities, and I hadn't reviewed one, and all of a sudden I'm reviewing two in two different communities, and this is one of them. This one's going a lot smoother, by the way.
That's good.
But nevertheless, again, the important thing is keeping the wash waters separate. Years ago, I worked in the excavating for an excavator. I had been in the old Pine facility in Hopkinton many, many, many times. I was familiar with the process. I believe it's the same, a similar process was moved to where they are now, and hence they're proposing to move again to Cliff Street. Anyways, I was familiar with that and with a couple other facilities. The processed water, they capture it, put it into sediment ponds, try to drop out as much sediment and silt as you can, and reuse that water rather than use new water. The important thing in the original design was that the stormwater facilities are separated from the processed water. I was very happy with that. I mean, quite frankly, we had a few minor comments. They were addressed. I'd rather not belabor them if I could. I did visit the site. I was concerned with site distances. The road geometry looked good, horizontal and vertical alignment. I think there was a horizontal curve going up toward Joe Jenny, which is a right turn out of the facility. But it was far enough, either a hill or a horizontal curve, but it was far enough. When I measured it out, I wasn't concerned about it. But there was some brush on the left-hand side. I don't expect loaded trucks to go out to the left-hand side because there's a weight-restricted bridge farther south of the facility. So I expect the loaded trucks will probably be going out to the north up to Sutton Avenue in Oxford. So sight lines I was comfortable with. With respect to stormwater management, again, I was comfortable with it. I did notice that, I don't remember the name of the brook, it's Muddy Sucker Brook or Cold Sucker Brook or something like that, but off the property to the south a little bit is considered a cold water fishery. It's just one of the things that's raised in Mass DEP Stormwater Handbook that makes it quote-unquote critical area, if you will. Bathing beaches are critical areas, zone 2s of a public water supply are a critical area. So what the design engineer did was created two compartments of 4 bays that they were close, but this made them comply with the theoretical amount of total suspended solids removed from that particular treatment train, stormwater treatment train. So those are the more detailed discussions. And again, I'm satisfied with the revisions made. I did receive the revised plan where they shifted the grading 5 feet, and I think it was, if you don't mind me looking at this plan, I think it was about here near off the WFA 38 A40 series type of wetland flags, which are on your sheet, kind of in the top left corner. It was really hard to see. I'm glad I had the email to know what to look for, but a 5-foot shift on an 80 scale plan, you really don't see it. So that's it. With respect to the sound study, being a civil engineer, we can't help you. I can give you a little bit of background, having sitting through a lot of sound presentations of my recollection of what's in play, and it's basically, there is a state, either regulation or policy, that noise from a facility can't be more than a certain decibel level or percentage above background. So the important thing is that there needs to be background sound monitoring done before the crushing operation goes into, or whatever noise-generating operation goes into effect. And then they've got to meet certain, they can't exceed the threshold. What I read in the letter is they probably would have exceeded the threshold. You really don't have a detailed sound study in this one-page letter for a peer review, unless that person was to put forward his calculation, his modeling, then you might have something to peer review. But nevertheless, they came out and they said, yep, we see an issue here. And what I understand from Mr. Leonard's presentation a few minutes ago, they recognize that, they plan to deal with it. There's two potential solutions they see right now. One is to put a barrier between the sound generation and the residences by way of either that building wall or the berm. I don't know if this board wants to get into the level of detail how he's going to comply. At a minimum, you may want to require that, one, that he does comply, one, the background. If there's concerns about when the background sound study is done, you may put a condition in to address that. I don't know if background has to be done multiple times. I'm thinking that once trees come down, once other things that affect sound start happening, the background changes. So the background might well be done before construction activity starts, and then it becomes a compliance with the background once the crushing operation and the sorting operation, screening operations go into effect. But these are beyond me. I'm just
Through the
trying.
chair, weren't we just speaking of putting it in a building, 32,000 square foot warehouse, that is kind of bulletproof? I mean, isn't that the idea? And then having.
Yeah, we have to, on the bottom, the last paragraph, they talk about the, what's required of the building to meet the proposed requirement.
So where I'm going with this with the board is I don't know if you'd be comfortable conditioning compliance with the regulation as a whole, let him choose his way, or compliance based upon what he presents. I want to do it this way, and like was discussed earlier, perhaps he come back for modification of the plan if he chooses his plan B.
Again, for the chair, and I'm sorry to be chiming here, you just said that you're going to pick your source, which is the building.
Yep.
That's it, right now. And then if something changes later, right?
Yeah, correct.
And there are multiple sources of sound. There's the screening equipment, the crushing equipment, and then the heavy equipment, basically the loader and excavator. And I'm not saying you have to screen all of them. That's probably not the case. But obviously, the crusher is probably the greatest sound producing piece of equipment. And again, the important thing would be compliance. And then his noise consultant, or sound consultant, I should say, would produce records at a later date, which he could provide to this board if the board wanted to receive them as a condition of approval. Yeah. The reason I bring this up is it may, depending on how the board feels, it may or may not be necessary for the board to be comfortable knowing he's either going to use the building or the exterior berms, sound walls, whatever. And I'll leave that to the board.
Thank you.
Mr. Maloney.
So the special permit for manufacturing use, including processing, fabrication, and assembly conducted outside a building requires a special permit, but inside a building is allowed by right. So I'm curious if processing, fabrication will still be conducted outside of the building, or any sort of operation aside from the crushing.
There could be screening
Yeah.
outside the building.
Okay. Okay. So we'll stick with the special permit. That's what
May I ask one question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Leonard? The 32,000 square foot building you're referring to, is that the building in the back? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we'd have to close in
Yep.
the front.
Understood. I had visited the site. I was impressed by the fact that even though the buildings nearest the street were not being used, the grounds were well kept.
Yeah.
You know, for the intended use, it seems like the right kind of site layout, if you will, and reuse of the buildings and so forth. Thank you.
Any other comments? Board, any questions? Oh, actually, I know you had got some comments from Webster and Oxford. Can you just brief us in public on what the comments were?
So I reached out through email to both Webster and Oxford, and I did not get any responses from Oxford. The response from Webster is that basically, as long as you're going through the process through the planning board, doing the right, navigating the right channels, that's the way to do it.
Okay.
So really, not much to go on as far as that goes.
Their response is unresponsive.
Webster didn't respond, but Oxford said that.
Vice versa?
Yes.
That makes more sense. Yeah, perfect.
Thanks.
All right, board, any comments, questions, concerns?
Steps.
To the chair, just have one.
Yeah.
So if we're going inside the building and stuff, we need to have something set up to study on knowing what the ambient is now. Then when we go inside the building, or what they figure it'll be inside the building, or it's not gonna matter, or...
We still could, my understanding of it is we still can't, I think it's 10 decibels beyond, Murray's become an expert at it.
I was doing some quick checking, it's 10 dBA above ambient.
Ambient, they take ambient about 35 decibels.
Correct. Yeah.
So 50 to 55 is kind of elevator music, background music. So to give you an idea, it's pretty quiet. So you're allowed a flex of 10 decibels above ambient, so we'd be up to 45 at whichever neighborhood location you're, I guess, listening for sound at.
I think they do it at the second story window.
And they do.
Yeah.
It's about 10 or 15 feet above ground is where they monitor.
And the only reason I'm asking is, like, it was brought up earlier, for a baseline, is when and how will that be determined? So you put it all in or whatever, what's it all based off of?
What is our sound based off of?
Well, no, a sound report would be based off of, you can't do it off the pit you're in now,
No.
No.
because you're not in a building.
No.
So it's never been done from inside. There's a building, and it's a huge building, I know.
Yeah.
And you're gonna block off the one side that's gonna travel. But a building's also a big speaker, it's a big echo. You got a roof on it, it's all gonna go the other sides.
Yeah.
So, and I know it's gonna be going away from the houses, which is fine. But what's gonna be the baseline in case somebody says, hey, we're hearing this? Are you gonna say, well, we did a test on this date at this time, and we know what's what? Or how does that all come about?
I believe that'll
Question.
be how we do it, and
Okay.
it'll be a work in progress,
Yeah.
to make sure that we are there. We're going to have to do more studies and engineering for the building to
Yeah.
get
And
the
I
right
think they,
installation and
for this report, they assumed a very quiet baseline.
Right.
Right, yeah.
As opposed to at Pine
Oh,
Sand.
yeah, no, I know, yeah.
It's
I mean,
different if you're,
It's everything,
if you
yeah,
back up as a
everything's going
highway.
on over there, yeah.
Whereas the ambient noise and the way they do it is it's the quietest minute of every hour.
Yeah.
And so they take that information and put it into their algorithm.
I mean, it's a good location for it, and, I mean, put a crush inside the building, why not?
Yeah.
You're out of the weather, though.
If I may, through the chair, is that you can,
As long as everybody's on the same page and everybody has a baseline, I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but if something comes up, everybody's protected and we know what we're starting with for numbers.
so through the chair, in response to Mike's response about tin can and echoing, you can go in and you can modify through acoustical panels, and you can sound deaden with materials on the inside of the building to help with that, with the vibration and anything else later, later after you
If
You're
we
going to have to have the
if-
study
If we
done.
need more, we'll have to provide more.
Yeah. if-
And then you'll
if-
provide more.
Yeah.
Right, you have to.
But I mean, it's a good spot.
Yeah, it's,
So they comply with OSHA too.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's no different than a pine. We
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
to, when they show up. we
Yeah,
have
I
to
mean, it's a good spot for it, the whole deal. It's, I mean, as we all know, they're our neighbors. So that's all. I mean, I know they're not in Douglas, but they're still our neighbors.
Yeah.
You know?
No, we appreciate that.
And that's all that I'm just asking about.
Any other comments or questions from the board? And this is a public hearing. Anyone in the audience with a question or comment?
Thank you.
Anyone online? No one's online. All right, so what are our next steps here, Mr. Benoit?
We're just looking to make a vote, use the motion to close the public hearings, and there are 3 public hearings. You can make a blanket motion to close all 3.
Mr. Chairman, I just have one quick question.
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't have my original permit with me. There were no waivers requested, is that correct?
I didn't see any waivers.
Is that from the applicant, is that correct?
I'm going to defer to Matt, because
Okay.
it's been so long, but I don't.
That was my understanding. I just wanted to
Pressure.
verify that, nothing.
We're glad Matt's back.
Yes.
Waivers have been identified in the peer review also, but I didn't see any
And
waivers.
if I can, to the chair, I think there was none because it's the already existing site. It's already an existing scrapyard. All they're doing is moving in a crusher operation.
Right, I'm talking about replication and loam.
Bonding.
Right.
Do we want to close the hearing, or do we want to wait for one more meeting to wrap everything up?
We could still close the public hearing and still wrap up.
Hammer out all the
conditions.
details?
Yes, at a future meeting if you wish. Closing the public hearing, we still have 65 days to render the site plan and 90 days for special permit.
If I can, through the chair, does that sound fine? And that you're definitely going inside, you're saying just a crusher, you might still have screener plants outside.
That have to meet those sound
Okay. But your main crusher you want to put inside.
inside. That's the real culprit.
One waiver was waiver of requirements for landscape along the property line. And that's for the earth. Good catch.
Just what's the reason for the waiver? I know it's probably a standard thing for the
Requires a
operation.
20-foot wide screening buffer, landscape vegetation for the property lines. All budding properties within Douglas are zone industrial, therefore the section does not apply to those parcels. Similarly, the property directly abuts parcel 3 in Webster, Mass. Is located in the conservation zone district. Of the neighbor properties in Oxford are zoned R1 residential. The existing equipment maintenance business located at 69 Cliff is proposed to remain as is with no changes except for expansion of the upper yard on the parcel 9.1. This will still provide a 300-foot of existing woods area between the proposed earth and still activities and others. Therefore, the applicant requests a waiver from landscape screening, section 5.3. As natural existing woods and wetland buffers will provide suitable screening. for the property.
I'm comfortable closing the hearing. We've have all we need. And then just hammer out the conditions. Do you think conditions will take a while, or go to the next meeting just for the conditions, or?
Well, you could, if you're voting to approve, you could approve with standard conditions. Standard conditions apply. We could go over those collectively if you like, but
I'm sure the applicant's familiar with the standard.
yeah, we have to set a bond amount too, so
Okay.
perhaps we could, the next meeting.
Bring the mic. Bring the mic over, Steve.
Sorry. Yeah, I'd recommend that we go over the conditions at the next meeting.
And then get a bond, or start working on a bond estimate.
Yeah, because the bond has to be included in the decision.
Okay. All right.
You want a motion?
Yeah, motion to, for all 3.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for Pine Sand and Stone Company, application for earth removal permit and site plan review special permit.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Zwicker, seconded by Mr. Preston.
Yes.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, and we'll schedule for next meeting, which will be 24th. January 24th.
Go over conditions. 24th. For Sleepy Hollow.
There's no specific time,
Essentially,
right?
continue.
Just reoccurrence, so we'll just handle that, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Since we have Mr. Leonard here, if you'd like to take items 4B and 4C, your Sleepy Hollow.
4B, 4C. All right, let's talk about Sleepy Hollow. We have something in our packet for that?
Yep. Mr. Chairman, sorry to interrupt, but if I'm not needed, I think I'll disappear.
Sir.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
board members.
Thank you.
All right. Sleepy Hollow streetlight discussion, possible votes. So what's going on with Sleepy?
So, Andy Leonard, I'm here on behalf of Jim Pine and James Sleepy Hall LLC. So, at the mail kiosk, there's a requirement for a street light. We have that over from the transformer, and we have not poured the, we have a sonotube there. We've been ready for a while. We just didn't want to take it upon ourselves. There's no specification for the streetlights. So we're really asking for the board's preference. This particular one that we submitted is one that the town of Northbridge is using, and that's really the secret. Just a street light that Northbridge requires on their streets. So we've been using it a lot in Northbridge, so we take a shot with that. But didn't want to take it upon ourselves to just stick a street light with it. That's all.
Okay.
Through the chair, do we have a standard, like by the gazebo where the common is, all those historic looking lights?
We don't.
Do we want to use that as a sign? I didn't think about it.
No, we don't.
Yeah, it's really,
It doesn't matter, right, right.
Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing in the decision, there's nothing in the bylaws of what's required, just,
just a street light.
okay. Yeah, I think if you guys are fine with it, and
If I can through the chair, it's going to become a public way and everything, correct? Would it be possible to run this through, just ask the highway department? Because they're going to be maintaining it all once this all goes up.
well, it's already on the plan.
Right,
For
but
what?
as far as they're going to problem maintaining this type of light, if they don't, put it up. If they say, yeah, no, we don't want to use that style, then whatever style, I'm throwing it out there, because we're going to be owning it, and the highway department's going to be maintaining it, correct?
Yeah, I'm here, we're here to raise the question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's just, we're uncharted territory.
Yeah.
So through the
I mean, I
chair,
got no problem with the light.
The town is required to maintain that light
If we
after it's
accept,
installed?
Yeah.
if we accept the road.
And how many of those lights will be just that one?
Just at
Just-
the mail kiosk.
One, okay.
Are there any other streetlights proposed on this project?
No.
Yeah, they weren't part of the approved design.
I mean, I got no problem saying, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it's a standard light, the town should be able to, and that's if we even accept it too. Still don't know if they'll accept the road. Yeah, I'm fine with this light. Yeah. Anyone opposed to this light?
I don't know, just continuity, I was just bringing that up, that's all, with what we've got. Because the town has accepted those already, so.
Yeah, we've gone LED on our streetlights, but they're the old arms
Right.
with
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
ballast and, but, no, this is an LED light too, so we don't have remotes set, calibration on our LED lights, so we don't need to tie this in.
Does this work on a timer? Is it a timer or is it based on the
I honestly
sensitivity of
don't
the
know, I'd
light?
have to read it. Usually there's a
Sense.
Lights up.
solar.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it works out well, any further projects that requires streetlights, try to stay with the
Yeah.
same stuff,
Yeah.
you know?
Good
idea.
Like I said, drive around town and look at the street lights on.
You can ask DPW what they have, the con.
I'm fine to go talk to them.
Right, I think, through the chair, I think that's a good idea to talk to
Yeah.
Just talk.
DPW
Yeah,
and just
I-
ask if they have any preference or things to consider.
And just go forward with it when, check with them, confirm with Matt and get it in.
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as we know what's going on, and then in the future, if it's a particular light that the town wants to be using, then use it in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you get a motion for a minor modification to the plan?
By consensus?
Oh, we need, a motion that it's a minor, well, it isn't even a modification.
Is it a modification? though?
We added,
Because we already requested a light.
The light was there.
okay.
Yeah, just a,
They're just looking for guidance on what kind of light they want to put up.
Okay. Okay.
I'd rather know we were doing something wrong before we.
No, appreciate you coming in.
and bond reduction.
Yeah, so this goes back a ways, so the roadway's top, the concrete walks are in, and a lot of this happened, well, Matt was not around, so Doug Bush had obviously been inspecting, so we referred to, Bill had done a bond kind of sheet, so it was pretty much checking off what was done. I checked it off, I sent it to Matt, to Doug. Doug came back with a little more money, small amount.
You rounded it up.
On November 16th, he determined that the bond amount should be $33,444.66. Since then, which we're not requesting, we've done the bounds except for one. Only because there was a stump there and we didn't have a machine, which would have further reduced the bond. But, so Jen had brought up that Bill had put a requirement in that there should be some progress as-built. So, I don't know, so that, we held off, and then the only thing I really have, so then we asked G&H to pick up the pace. So I have an email here from Jim Sullivan, who runs G&H, that we are in good shape with plans and street acceptance plans. I'm told there was one more bound to set. There was a tree stump, blah, blah, blah. But, so we hope to put that bound in next week, but he does have, well, he says here, once it is finalized, meaning the last bound, I can have one of the staff submit the plans and request the town for as-built review. So the as-built are basically done, they're waiting for one more bound to go.
And that's the as-built for the entire roadway.
Excuse me?
And that's the as-built for the entire roadway, so,
Yeah, so there's, in the spring, there's minor work to do. Doug's aware of it, some arging of the curb joints, some seeding at the basin, and then, but the as-built is done. So we were just requesting, at this point, if we could get if Jim could get a bond reduction to the $33,444 change that Doug's recommendation.
you're looking to have 33,444 remaining in the, okay.
In there,
And it has to round it up.
Yeah.
of which the bounds are in,
Yeah.
which were worth $9,500, so you really have another $10,000.
So let me just.
Mr. Benoit, yep. Quick,
Current bond is at,
Through the chair, Andy, if you've got to come back on the 24th, would you prefer to have that bound in and ask for the bond reduction to include that 9,500, or does it not matter?
No,
so I think we're looking for a motion to reduce the bond amount as exists to $198,080.36 by $164,080.36 to a round number of $34,000.
So moved.
Second on that.
made by Mr. Preston, second by Mr. Sokrat. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All set.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
All right. So we got,
Catch up on some stuff.
yeah, we got the Douglas Hill Way accessory apartment.
Okay. Accessory apartment extension, 34 Douglas Hill Way, possible votes. Standard extension.
Yes, sir, I don't have any issues with this. This is an extension of existing, no changes.
Okay. Entertain a motion to endorse the accessory apartment extension for 34 Douglas Hill Way.
So moved.
Second.
Made by Mr. Zwicker, second by Ms. Schlesman. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Master plan.
All right. So I understand that we sent out requests to all the boards and commissions for master plan members, and we got feedback from all except for the school committee at this point. We do have volunteers from each of the committees, so at this point. The master plan is not going to move forward until we get an appropriation at town meeting. So I have some estimates, requests for estimates from CMRPC, who can give us, through a couple of grants, an opportunity to get almost $135,000 worth of services for almost $30,000. So if they give me their estimate and their grant applications in, and I can get an appropriation for $30K at town meeting, accepted and approved, then we would start the master plan group after that, with the guidance under CMRPC. So that's the brief update I have on that.
You think it'll be ready for spring town meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
To the chair,
So,
I'm sorry, who's responsible for writing the grant?
CMRPC.
Okay.
If I could, Mr. Chairman. So, Matt, you don't feel it would be helpful or prudent to even meet as a group prior to getting this funding? 'Cause I know in the past that was the case. The Master Plan Study Committee did gel, if you will. We had representatives from all the boards, committees, commissions, and then we go out to the public because we'd like to have a certain number which we'd have to decide from the public, create that committee, and then there can be early discussions because there's a lot to do. We're not spending any money. Give people the role of responsibility, what our objective is, why we're doing it, sort of an educational thing. And then now you've got the committee together, you're ready to go, and you get the funding. We did the same thing, but we did it for $10,000
Okay.
20 years ago.
Okay.
I guess things have gotten more expensive.
Shows
So-
leadership. It shows well for the town to have it together.
Sure. I mean, we could. I'm not opposed to it.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
we can, we need to rally citizens from each of the voting precincts. We need at least a member from each also, so I don't know how to reach out to the voting members, but they usually use town meeting for that, because it's when your voters come in, or your election. So you hand out paperwork at your election.
And you have the list of everyone that's signed up
Yes.
and contact information?
Yep. Yeah, the latest one was we got Mr. Manerick to put in his hat for Economic Development. So,
I'm shocked.
yeah.
I'm
He's
shocked.
the only one on the committee, right? So, yeah.
So if I could, for clarification, so you want to wait till town meeting to be able to solicit members from the community?
So we have an election, which is 2 weeks after town meeting. So we need members from each of the voting precincts for
Okay.
public participation as part of the master plan committee too. So I mean, if we were to kick off without them, I mean, we could.
Not to kick off without them, but is that a state requirement? Because that might be something new. I'm not familiar with that, because we only have 3 precincts, right?
Yeah, no, it's just good practice, but
Okay.
it's not a mandate.
Again, I just would argue that the sooner the better if we keep kicking the can down the road. Now we're going to wait till town meeting.
Well, what do we do with those school committee members?
Yeah.
Do we mandate when we need to hear from them, or how does that all go down? I mean, that's where 80% of the budget of this town is, and here we are, we don't have one representative yet. Kind of scary.
They got
Maybe reach out to them for a member and try to set something up where we email
See how this
everybody
goes.
and try to get,
If it would be helpful, I'd be willing to get on their agenda, a future agenda, and talk to them and explain what we're doing, why we're doing it.
Okay.
And that way it can be kind of a face-to-face.
Yeah, but you know where I'm going with that. I mean, it's the biggest part of the town budget.
yeah.
The superintendent can
Yeah, so
appoint somebody.
Let's get on their agenda and get somebody and get the ball rolling. And, you know, even if the board, the committee meets just to introduce and say who's who and figure out, you know, the plan and go forward from there.
And if I could, I'm thinking there aren't really a lot of qualifiers in terms of the citizen group, in terms of them being citizens. Decide how many you want, whether it's one or a couple from each voting precinct. I think you just put it online, as we do with all the other positions that are available.
That's true.
And let people apply.
Okay.
They can be assessed. But I think there's a lot we could do prior to getting the funding. The funding is important, of course.
Okay. All right. I'm good.
If you're all right with that, if the board
Yeah.
is and you are.
That's fine.
Yeah.
We can do that.
It's been a while. Who we end up having? Meg, Richard, and Mike.
Mike,
And we're all chomping, right?
can't wait.
Yeah.
All right. Ongoing development.
So, first item was cubes at Gilboa. I believe at our previous meeting, there was an issue about trees being,
Yes.
yeah, so there hasn't been any progress on that yet.
Okay.
But there has been a drainage failure and a washout of the roadway as of this morning. So Conservation Commission voted on Monday to issue an enforcement order because it washed out a wetland on town property and dumped a bunch of debris. So I just wanted to give you guys an update. The Concom issued an enforcement order. They're going to be kind of spearheading the efforts to control that. So that's
Through the chair, this is not the Montauk issue.
no, this is cubes at Gilboa. Yeah, so that's all I have on that.
Has our peer review engineer been out and been involved with it at all?
Yes.
Okay. So he's at least familiar with what's going on?
Yeah, and we have Brandon Faniff, our conservation agent, who's kind of been more involved with it now.
Okay.
So,
So the people that need to be involved are involved?
yes.
Okay. Okay, anything else?
No. Looks like you have some folks here for Oak Street.
Yeah. Do you have any updates for Oak Street?
Yeah, so Oak Street,
I'll recuse myself,
yes.
so we know.
So Oak Street, Conservation Commission issued an enforcement order. So did the town of Sutton for a lot of the debris that's washing off the site towards Manchoc Pond. I don't know if there's any updates on last night's rain event from the Mazinskis. I don't know
Yeah, so
Come on up. I don't know.
Thank you. Lisa Mosinski, 60 Oak Street, also representing the Mosinski Living Trust. So briefly, December 10th was the first major failure of a drainage stormwater control on this site. 7 days later, there was a second repeat failure from this site. It left the site, it traveled over property for almost a third of a mile, and it ended up in Manchogue Pond. The pond was brown. That's why Sutton's involved. Also, partly the property is in Sutton. Yesterday's rain, they did a lot of work to try to stabilize things, but there's a basin on the northeast corner that is not finished. They did not stabilize the slopes, and the erosion for the first two events was severe. The erosion, and maybe Mike can speak to this, but the erosion for yesterday included the pond, included the property on the opposite side of the road. And on Oak Street, there continues to be serious water flow that was not there before, that is pooling in the road. The neighbor's driveway was washed out. There was pea stone down the street, several houses down the street. There's water pouring out of stone walls into gutters that is brown. And all of this is heading down the watershed into the wetlands between Oak Street and Northwest Main Street. So as Matt said, there was an enforcement order made in Sutton. There was an enforcement order made Monday night here in Douglas. But we'd like to see more, because your reports from the folks you hired, I assume, Haley and Ward, have recommended over and over that the silt is cleaned out of these basins so that you don't have the silt and huge overflow. And this first or second failure, they recommended a redesign of the basin that's closest to Oak Street, because it continues to flow into the road. So I guess part of our question is, do taxpayers pay for this road repair? Because that's not right. So we need more action on, you're, I guess, one of the permitting authorities, and we need more action taken to make sure that this stops. Because Monday night, the developer said, well, it's stormwater management, and until it's finished, we can just basically, do what we need to do whenever we need to do it. A third of a mile into Manchogue Pond, half of which is in Douglas. So we're asking for more action to be taken.
Through the chair, because of learning stuff, everybody's learning. The property that we're speaking of, which is the solar property, right? Is it Blue?
Blue Wave.
Blue Wave. They own it completely now, right? That's their property.
That's incorrect. It's
So
leased.
It's leased. Okay, so who's it leased from as well?
What?
Who's the lessor or the lessee of the property?
So, I recuse myself.
As a neighbor, could you tell us that?
It was owned by Susan Mazinski when this project started. Owned the property.
Susan Mazinski, okay.
And she's deceased, so now it's
That's fine.
basically owned by her son.
Son.
Okay. And so Blue Wave owns that property, and it's not finished, obviously.
they lease,
They're leasing.
so they have control.
But it's not, the property isn't finished under our guise and what they came before.
Right.
So there's still Yeah, boy, that's terrible. Could be a class action suit. You know, we should not be paying for that. That is from their property onto the public.
And conservation, sorry, through the chair. What does this recent enforcement action mean?
Yes, what's the status from,
So
going on with the
they've been asked to stabilize the site and to continue building that basin and keeping the silt clear of it and installing the outlet control structures as designed. But they fell behind, obviously, the winter and the snow. And so they put erosion control blankets over the hills but it's, I mean,
There a cease and desist on their construction?
so the building inspector's not going to issue any permits for solar racking until the stormwater is resolved.
Right.
So that's kind of our purview is, what we could do is refer to the building commissioner for a cease and desist, but you don't want to stop them from
They won't. They won't.
trying to rectify the situation, which they are actively trying to do. They're just not keeping up with it.
I will say, if I can, as a citizen,
Can you identify yourself to the public?
Mike Zwicker, 46 Oak Street. I know that they've been trying to make a road in there to get back trucks in there to suck the muck out of the ponds. I'm familiar with the area. It isn't like you're going from here to the other side of that parking lot. It's a big area. And to stabilize it so that trucks don't get stuck won't happen overnight. And they've been, from what I can see, they've been hauling in a lot of like riprap, trying to make a road to allow these big back trucks to get up there to remove that silt. When this all started, there was a mud pond field going from the road to the back corners of the fields. And unless you have a D9 or an excavator, you're not crossing it. And that, I think, was their first big hurdle. But like Manchog was as brown as this too. And it was flowing over the road. We're not talking a little bit. If you're familiar with Lake Manchog, there's a stone break from the dam side to an opening to the main lake. That entire end of the lake was brown, and all that muck was heading down into a thing at Smith Pond, one below.
oh, Stevens.
Stevens.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, and then it stayed brown for a couple days.
Well, through the chair, doesn't that then become a DEP?
That's why I don't
Issue?
know what all's going on. I've kind of stayed out of it. I mean, I don't know how it is with the town. I mean, the town on certain things seems like they're turning a blind eye because it's affecting residents. So like the town doesn't seem to care too much. But this is going to come back to bite. The town's been sued over this kind of stuff before. And I've heard comments from our town administrator on certain things. I don't think that's correct, but the way I look at it, the town okayed all the permits and stuff like that. Something's going to get fixed here. Because it's, the culverts, I saw you taking pictures the other day.
Were you stalking me?
Yeah. The mud going down the culverts and all the muck and all the groundwater and all the silt and everything. And
All right, so if the,
so it's still going on,
Yeah,
even
so
though we discussed this the last 6 months.
so we've heard the comments, so I think just as a board, or those that are involved, not recused, just have a quick discussion.
Yeah.
Before you do that, it's not quite the same story I think we heard at Conservation, but I really want to emphasize that you look at these reports by Haley Ward. They've been on the ground, they've been out there. They're asking for a redesign of some of these basins because they're supposed to fill up with water and drain in 72 hours. They are not draining. So then on Oak Street, you've still got puddles at the end of the street. You've still got overflow into the street. Haley Ward is suggesting redesign. Are they here tonight online? I don't know. But they work for us, and I think we need to listen to what they are saying in order to make this site a better operation. Because, as Mr. Zwicker said, we're going to own it. And we as the taxpayer should not be footing the bill.
Excuse me, through the chair, to Mr. Benoit, have we received the town reports from Haley Ward suggesting that we review and enforce or somehow this redesign as a modification? Because obviously these things are filling up with silt and they don't have the volume anymore, right? They need to be cleaned out and, I mean, that's part of whatever, you know.
I don't know.
What do we- what do
Mike's
we-
not at the table.
No, I know. What do we know, Mr. Benoit, on that? Do we know anything from them?
Yeah, so they went out on December 11th and witnessed the large-scale erosion issues. They were there with Brandon Faniff and Art Allen from Ecotech and Ken Frazier from,
The town.
yeah. He said they recommended immediately install a temporary sediment basin as outlined in the construction sequencing note 7 as shown as sheet C301. Immediately stabilize the upstream surrounding area of the corner to minimize transfer of additional sediment downstream. The mulch berms, infiltration basin 5, that one's up in the corner, do not appear to be properly removing sediment. Suggested additional erosion control, silt fence, mulch berm, straw wattles, straw bales, silt sods, et cetera, replaced at all disturbed areas. They did blow straw all over the site. But, yeah, they're asking for a temporary sediment basin.
And what is the, so they're asking for it, is the construction crew or the Blue Wave open to doing that? Or what's the dialogue? If they ask for it, are they doing it?
I'm not sure.
Okay. So I would just probably just follow up with, from the other issue,
Okay.
the right people from the town who need to be involved are involved with this. Okay.
Yes.
But through the chair, is Blue Wave involved in this? Do they,
Yes.
have they responded that, okay.
They haven't responded to this report directly, but
Through the chair, can we ask them to come to the next meeting to provide an update on what has been done thus far?
sure.
Well, I'm just trying to, because I know Concom's involved, so I just don't want to duplicate the process if we don't have, it's almost like you wish Concom and us can meet together and just figure it out, but, because, we do have our permit, Concom has their thing. I want to try to get some results and get the ball moving on what to do going
Sure.
forward.
I just want to point out that that report was after the first failure,
That was the 10th, the failure was the 10th.
10th and 11th. There was another one the 18th, there was another one yesterday. So this one from the 12th, this report from Haley and Ward on the 12th says, temporary sediment basins have been installed, but additional temporary measures are needed due to the sediment in Oak Street. Further evaluation is needed at this time. Additionally, Haley Ward suggests that a permanent redesign of this area be done at this time. Permanent redesign. Otherwise, we're going to see this happen over and over and over.
Through the chair, Matt, who has the ultimate say in whether Blue Wave has to come in and explain themselves, or Haley Ward needs to come in? Is it conservation, or is it us?
Conservation has the enforcement order, but this is our peer review consultant.
Yeah.
So we have the authority to ask them to come in. But our enforcement authority is through the building inspector for cease and desist, that's all.
Yeah.
And they have a cease and desist essentially.
Yes.
Anyways.
I have a question, Chairman, if I could.
Yeah.
So we have here is a big piece of land, and they've done construction. And in doing the construction, they've changed the direction and the volume of surface water runoff. So then engineering was presented and approved to address this. Is it that it's not complete? Is it that the engineering is incorrect, or the construction wasn't done correctly? Because it sounds like it's just continuous Band-Aids. For as long as I've been on here, we've been talking about this project.
Yeah.
And it seems to be getting worse instead of better.
Right.
We all know surface water runoff can be really detrimental. And we've had crazy storms, what used to be 100-year storms, are not 100-year storms. So there's a lot of volume and there's a lot of, an increase there. So I'm wondering if the current engineering is reflecting that.
Current engineering is supposed to be designed to handle a fully vegetated site, but not during construction when they took all the trees and leveled the whole site, which they shouldn't have done. So they're getting the surface runoff at a high volume, and they need to install temporary basins in order to
I
handle
just
it.
have a question. I haven't done a site walk. Are there detention ponds there designed in? Detention ponds meant to collect water at one rate and release it at another, as we do with subdivisions?
Yes,
There are.
yeah,
How many are there?
it's fine.
And they're all failing?
There's
Or no?
only 3 of them built so far.
But I think the issue that they're having is that they're built, maybe not they're done, but the site's not done. So they're built to be done for a finished site, but the site's not finished.
But the site was altered and has altered surface water runoff.
Right.
Direction and volume without the engineering, without the construction being complete.
Right.
Through the chair, you mentioned something about the vegetation not to be removed all at once. Was that not supposed to be, I heard you say something.
Yeah, they clear cut the entire site.
Was that not supposed to necessarily happen? Is that somewhere that,
It's not the best practice when you're handling stormwater.
who lays out the best practice
And make
for
sure it's
them?
followed.
Is it the engineers? And then, sort of, the tenor of what you're saying is that the system may not be designed wrong, it's not complete. And there wasn't, plus this vegetation being removed,
Right.
plus these rains. I mean, just because you redesign something, it still has to be implemented. And they have not finished I'm not defending it, believe me, they're wrong. And they should be at this table, and everybody should be at this table, because this is monumental. So that's what I'm saying is that, yeah.
I just,
Yeah, it's not a public hearing, so I'll take your comment, but I do want to try getting somewhere with the board as a board.
I just want to address Mr. Preston's question, because the soil analysis was completely wrong. Soil is very porous, it's glacial till, and once they started removing the vegetation and into the till, it's just been everywhere. And I have to tell you, over and over again, daily, there are truckloads and truckloads of fill that are coming into that site. And I also want to question whether it was permitted that they can load and unload equipment on the road. They have a huge entranceway, and there's always equipment on the road. That street is narrow in places, so.
I don't look at the conditions.
I can't,
Yeah,
I know. I just, on the equipment part, the other day I had words with one of the drivers, because I had to drive over the snowbanks, my neighbor's yard, because of a triax in the road. They have loaders there. They can backblade an area for the triaxes, move off the side of the road a little bit more. My direct comment to me was, well, the town plows the road, it's not my problem. Well, it is a problem when I'm in a pickup truck and I'm driving over the snowbanks in my neighbor's yard to get around your lowboy. It wasn't good, and don't want to see it again. It's a shit show. I understand they have to, I'm very familiar with construction. They have to unload.
yeah.
Totally understandable. But when you're starting to block a road because of snowbanks and you're blaming the town because of the way they plow, and you have loaders, all kinds of equipment that you can simply backblade, snowbanks, make an area, so you're off the road a little bit, I think there's a major problem there. And communication should be handled, I think, through the board or whoever, let them know. You can't be completely blocking the road and making people driving over other neighbors' snowbanks because you just want to park in the middle of the road.
All right, so the board has heard comments, so I just
Thank you.
want to discuss a plan or figure out a plan going forward as a board.
Can I just ask one question?
Sure.
I'm Shirley Mizensky from 60 Oak Street. In your August 24th, 2023 meeting, page 5, item 8, a different engineer was stated. I brought up the fact that one or two of the other phases of the detention ponds was not working. I think it was the main entrance one they had to review and fix and clean out and back and forth because everything was running in the road. And I asked at that meeting to have an engineer review the plan for Phase 3. And I was told it would be done. I want to know if it was reviewed.
Yeah, I believe that's what Haley Ward's been doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Haley Ward has reviewed.
But this was on your August 24th, 2023 minutes.
Yeah, that's when we brought Haley Ward on board.
So what's your question? Has they reviewed
Did
it?
they review Phase 3?
They're actively reviewing the whole project as it
But this
goes.
was specifically Phase 3. Look in your minutes.
Okay.
Yes. So if Haley Ward is there, they're that's part of the project. So I can only assume that they reviewed.
I don't go with assume.
Yeah.
I've learned.
Yeah, so we'll do some research and,
Thank
you
you.
know, I don't know, I can't 100% say for sure that they did, but we'll have to reach out to them and see.
You know, these phases are failing. And they've got Phase 5, Phase 4, and these detention ponds are not finished because their intent, as they said the other night, they have to put in some kind of an apparatus so that it will drain in each one. Am I not right? That's what I heard.
Okay. All right. So board. And I just a point of order, Mike, can you just, I just want to move forward with this and talk, you mind just backing up a little bit and let the board just have the board have the conversation going forward. Thanks. Yeah. How are we looking, Matt?
Well, I think we should send a letter to Jason Smith of Blue Wave, asking them whether that they've conformed with Corey Broder's letter from Haley Ward.
Okay.
Especially regarding temporary sediment basements. Additional temporary measures needed to be due to sediment in Oak Street. And now that we've seen the rain event from Mr. Teeter, who called me today, talking about it.
Mr. Who?
He's a resident at 50
Oh.
Oak Street, I believe. Yeah, he's the one with the washed out driveway across
Yeah, I
from the
remember
entrance.
coming in.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, so he called me today, said he's going to send some photos over. But I think we should send a letter to Blue Wave asking for their further evaluation in accordance with this letter.
Do we want to get an update too from our peer review on the whole project as it's going and?
Yeah.
Through the chair, could we CC our legal counsel, CC town administrator, CC all of these consultants, put everybody on the same, everybody, you know, conservation, we should know what we're doing, what we're saying.
Yep.
Because really, everybody needs to be at the table in order to solve this. I mean, it's like we said, she said, whatever.
It's not an emergency at this point. I mean,
It is.
active problems. They're going to continue.
We have another rain coming this weekend.
So as we stand though, they're not actively doing any other construction besides working on
Erosion
storm
control, that's right.
Storm management, erosion
Right.
control.
That's all they're doing.
Okay.
Yep.
Can we call all the principals in to a meeting? Engineers,
Conservation.
all of them?
All of them. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what's tough with having so many boards having their hand in the pot, that it's kind of, the communication between boards and administration and everything has kind of been off, I would say. Because this is the first we've heard of this as a board, and it's happened December 10th.
A little bit fractured.
Yeah.
Recently.
And then would probably recommend just researching, what enforcement or actions the board has if things aren't getting done to our standard.
So calling reps for our conservation agent, our peer review consultant, probably Ken Fraser and town council at the next meeting, and representatives from Blue Wave and all their GCs.
And I don't know if you have it readily available, or if you know, Matt, the loading of the trucks, unloading of the trucks, if that was a decision or anything that we had? And if it's not, how do we go about changing or adding a condition so that they are required to load and unload trucks on their own property at this point?
Okay.
Because access for them to the site should be done at this point, so they should be on their own property.
I agree.
Through the chair, does the owner have any responsibility?
In theory, yes. The owner is.
Then he should be here too.
Just a suggestion, again, Shirley Mazinski, is an order of conditions that were written. You all need to read them. And you'll probably find, regarding the trucks, it's in there that they should not park on the road.
Pretty sure.
Matt, could you send that out to us by email?
Yep.
And if they're not following the conditions, what are our possible actions?
Yeah, our possible action is cease and desist through the building commissioner.
Okay.
And
Which is what's happening.
yeah, because he's not issuing any sort of racking permit, still storm.
So I would go a
rectified,
step
so.
further then, if you can confirm that that's a condition, maybe we can take a quick vote and request that the building inspector issue a cease and desist of their trucks parking and unloading on the road to do it on their property.
I think so.
Through the chair, is there a bond? I mean, what's the bond on this property?
Yeah, there is.
But the bond is for restoration, really.
I know, inside, in case they
Yeah.
decide to walk or something, you know?
There's two. Oh, there were two.
You don't have to know that, just was asking.
Yeah, there's a bond.
Yeah.
Right.
What the amount is.
Yeah.
Another comment, one last comment?
Just one quick one. They have to unload in the street. They'll never get in that site. Because they had to put mounds and moles to stop the water from coming onto Oak Street. So if you want to try to get low boys on the site, you have to take all that out. And there's no problem with them personally on the road, but they just got to be off to the side. There's no way a lowboy trailer can even fathomably make it halfway into that job site.
And with their cease and desist, basically, they can't do anything to the road. Because all they can work on is erosion control. So,
Yeah, but what it was said was that there was not enough, I'm sorry, through the chairs, riprap and stabilization to the access to get these machines to vacuum out and, right, there isn't.
They had to do a double mogul to stop the water from running all the way down into Oak Street.
It's like,
The moguls stop the water and try to get it in the
Right,
ponds.
right, it's,
Take the moguls out for the low boys.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to see the site. Sorry. I would like to see the site. I mean, would it be inappropriate for us to schedule a site walk, or if there's a few of us go up there? It's nice to have eyes on, especially before we have some of these people in. I think we can speak to it better, having seen the site.
I can go anytime, whatever. But we should try to go together, some of us.
If we go together, we have to post it as a meeting.
yeah,
So I'd almost encourage you to go out separately.
go separately or go as a pair.
Yeah.
Do we need, through the chair, do we need their permission?
No?
Oh, I would think we need to contact someone before we went on the property, no?
Yeah. I mean,
We want them, I'd like them to show us the property, to show us what they're doing.
That way. Right.
Can something be arranged, Matt?
Yeah, we could schedule a site walk.
Or multiple.
I mean, if it's just a few of us, so you don't, it's not a majority, so then you
But
don't.
I heard
Is that the deal?
Concom had a site walk. So it would have been nice if they reached out, or someone reached out and kind of asked for a planning board representative to be there as well.
Why does it have to be, why is there a limit on it? It's not a meeting.
Open meeting law, yeah,
But is it a meeting or is it?
If a majority of us are together, I think.
yeah,
So 3 could be all right. It's not the majority or something.
yeah, that's just the open meeting law, it's
Yeah.
it's
A
what it is.
quorum, I think.
Yeah.
You can't have a quorum.
Comment?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I just want to share that according to previous minutes of your board, the bond was set at $12,000 for roadway restoration and $72,000 for stormwater.
About 90 grand, 180 grand.
Any other comments or questions for Matt to read? Do we want to schedule an official site walk, or?
I can reach out to the members that want to do it, and then we'll post a meeting.
You might be able to do 2 of them for them in a couple hours, we can split up,
Yeah,
but they won't have to come back,
right.
Yeah, I'd like to go, I'm
Yeah.
limited on my time during the day,
I
that's
got
my only thing.
Same here with you now, so.
All right, yeah, we'll figure out a way to get up there.
Okay.
Ongoing development, anything else we want to talk about in ongoing?
Did you want to talk about Hawk Hill Farms?
I'd love to talk about Hawk Hill Farms, if someone is here to talk about Hawk Hill Farms.
I'm back.
All right,
I could be that person.
all right. Ms. Schlesman has recused herself for Hawk Hill Farms.
The only update that I have right now is there is a question to come back to the meeting on the 24th around asking for release of the lot. I guess there has been some discussion with town council about the appropriateness and how to best do that. And then additionally, I cannot recall if the last time I talked about Hawk Hill that I validated that the fire department had come up.
Yeah, there was a letter.
Okay, yeah, Kelly, that's right, Kelly did that, so I couldn't remember if I had updated you on that or not. So we're waiting for town council to kind of weigh in on his determination if the planning board will hold occupancy permit and release the lot. And I believe that the 24th, we are requesting, my engineer is requesting to be on the docket to discuss that.
And then I think whatever the answers to that would be, unless that also got sent out, there was another subdivision request for a similar thing of
Yeah.
holding up.
Maple Heights.
Yeah.
Isabella Drive. I know it's not on our agenda, but similar situation where they needed to have the homeowners association established before asking for the lot. But,
So for ours, we have already established our homeowners association, and it's already been recorded, so we do have that in place.
So hopefully, we should have the answers by that next meeting.
I think so.
Okay. And I forgot, did we figure out the bond? Did we vote and say that we were fine with the bonds, or were we waiting for Matt or someone to review the bonds? Jude had because it was approved for a certain number, but he was looking to do less. I forgot if we voted
Yes,
on that.
you have not voted on that.
Okay.
To allow him to do less, and he actually presented a justification as to why
Yeah.
the number should be less than what's currently on the plan.
Are you able just to watch that meeting or take a look at those minutes, just to be on the same page for that, so we can vote on those at that next meeting too?
Okay.
Just so we can try to have all the answers done for that.
Okay. Okay.
And if it needs to be reviewed. But I think we were kind of like, it's minor, the board has no issue with it. We just want to make sure we're okay to not have an issue with it.
Okay. Okay.
Anything else? All right. Any other ongoing development updates, Matt?
I don't have any, no. I will say
Staff
that,
updates.
I will say that Whiten Reservoir was hoping to submit their road acceptance before I went out, but I don't think that got in time for spring town meeting, and I don't think Stonegate did either, so.
That's unfortunate, because that's a long wait.
Yes, so those won't be on for spring town meeting.
Through the chair, I did drive down Lake Shore today, as an aside. It's a mess.
Lake Shore is,
Yep.
and there's more rain coming.
And there's more rain coming. And I think that sits with conservation now as well, so,
Yep, they issued an
Yep.
enforcement order on that.
yep.
Yeah, if it's a warm winter, it's only going to get worse and worse and worse.
Yep.
Do we have to do anything for, let's see, what are we in? Staff updates? Yes.
I don't have anything.
Do, town meeting, do we have anything that we need to work on?
Just an estimate for master plan, but I don't have any bylaws, or actually, yeah, the solar one, I guess, did not make make it through town meeting, so we'll forward that one over onto spring.
We'll have to have a whole nother hearing on
Yeah,
that as
we
well?
will.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Lot releases, so we just have some signatures, I'll pass that around. Miscellaneous, anyone have anything for miscellaneous?
I do a little bit.
Okay.
On November 15th, there was a building and financial facilities meeting that took place, and our town administrator, Matt, made some comments about two board members that are present here this evening, and comments about this board that I thought was not appropriate, and I think a public apology at this meeting, one of our meetings, should be made. If you watch the video, about 30 minutes in, there was a conversation between Matt and the chair. Some of it was slandering this board. Some of it was saying that certain things they don't like about this board, but yet nobody wants to come in front of this board and communicate who, what, when, where, or why.
Or what the issues are.
And what the issues are. The slander came, I think it's slander, personally. At town meeting, I was present as a citizen. I decided last minute, I want to go to the town meeting and see what it's all about. And
Yeah, I was there too. Yep.
decided to show up and sat next to me. We were just there as citizens. And we said before the meeting even started, we're just here as citizens. We're not here to represent the planning board in any way, to see what's going on in town. Mr. Matt thinks that we should have acted as the board, represented the board and everything when it came to this solar vote. Whereas all the town board selectmen sat up at their table, said absolutely nothing. And we release this information to the selectmen for the town meeting. Matt never approached this board and asked if anybody's going to present. There was a lot of things going on, as you know, with this board during this time. Jen was trying to run the board. Tracy wasn't here at every meeting, now that Tracy has left. I had no idea, and Jake had no idea, but yet here we have the town administrator coming back a month later, going to another board, not even here, and slamming us and this board for what went on at the town meeting. And I think it's personally wrong, and that's why nobody wants to volunteer to be on boards. Because when you have an administrator doing that kind of stuff behind people's backs and not confronting them face to face, there's a problem. And that's all I'm going to say about it.
Yeah, I would agree, and I would just, going through some of the stuff in this meeting, there definitely seems to be a communication breakdown in the town of, I know Matt was not here for a while, but if you're not here, someone needs to be here. And to communicate some of this stuff.
Yeah, I provided the report to their office, but it never made it to town meeting floor.
Yeah, and all someone had to do was probably reach out and ask for someone from planning board to present it, but that was never done. So it just happened that we were at the meeting, but
Right. We didn't go there, I didn't go there in an official position.
yeah, I wasn't
And
prepared to
some-
do anything.
Some people are saying, well, you're there. Yeah, I'm there as a citizen, you know? Yeah, I am a member of this board, I'm there, you know, for whatever, for the community. But if people in a certain office are too lazy to come to this, our meeting before town meeting, say, hey, guys, you know, there's stuff going on, can we do this, this, and this, and request and or ask, sure, no big deal.
I mean, I'll take full responsibility for
No,
for this.
you weren't there. The idea is
No.
we have people talking behind our back that won't confront the board in the first place.
Or ask why,
Or, right,
before going to another board and,
communicate.
yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, we had no, if you submitted a report, Matt, we had no clue that there was one.
yep,
And that's
Yeah.
more than would have been expected anyway, so you did great.
The town administrator, the town moderator, town clerk, and the selectmen all meet at a selectmen's meeting and figure out what's needed for a town meeting. They should have probably recognized then that something was needed and acted and asked for
they
something to
did.
be done. And then to try to throw us under the bus is,
yep.
or it is inappropriate.
So, if you watch it, it's on cable. It's the November 15th meeting. It's about 30 minutes in, and it's Building and Facilities Committee meeting. It's a good watch.
So, and if I'm the chair, I hope to try to improve any kind of communication that we are having between everybody in the town.
You are the chair.
Going forward.
We need to CC all these other boards and selectmen and just keep everybody in our loop.
They don't want to be.
Well, CC them, we've got to do what we have to do, regardless of whether they respond. At least we've done our job.
All right, any other comments? All right, let's,
Welcome, you guys.
Thank you.
anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
No, you got it.
Any further discussion? We are adjourned.